Right. So I like your analogy of awareness. Awareness is the first step of transformation from what you're saying.
Yep.
And what we're looking to do is to get transformed in our minds.
Yep.
Transformed in our minds.
Yeah.
You spoke earlier on the state of being.
Yeah.
Talking about personalities and talking about something I have acronymed in my mind, TEA. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your action.
Yeah.
So you must pay attention to your T.
Yeah.
So that you can be in the right state of being.
Very true.
To achieve the results that you desire.
Very true.
What is the right state of being?
I love the questions you ask. And I think that's where remember that phrase, homeostasis?
Homeostasis.
Right. When you are able to regulate your internal environment such that you gain mastery over being present. You know, a lot of us are present yet absent. And most times we default into unconscious thinking. The minute you do that, you're defaulting into a program. And that's why, like I said, about 95% of our thoughts are repeated thoughts. They are unconscious. So, do you know how many people on a regular basis are lost in thoughts? You know, carrying out one exercise and their minds have wandered and they don't even realize where their minds have wandered. And there needs to be that consciousness, the practice of consciousness.
Right.
Rarely do people practice that. Being aware of what is happening in the now. Most people are not in the now, right? And it starts from when they even wake up in the morning. They think yesterday's thoughts and start defaulting into unconscious thought processes and patterns. And, you know, it takes them on a journey and lands them in the destination that they don't desire. So the right state of being is the practice of consciousness, the practice of awareness, and the regulation of your internal environment. So when you notice your thoughts are defaulting into that destructive pattern of thinking, you're able to catch yourself. First of all, you're able to even notice. Most people don't notice. You're able to notice that this is what is happening to me, right? When people notice when it has converted into an experience, and they notice when it is a feeling. So what happens is that I see people say, why is it that I feel this way? Feelings don't exist in isolation. It was generated by a series of thoughts, but you were not paying attention whilst you were thinking that way. And the series of thoughts ended in an experience. The reward of an experience is an emotion. You feel that emotion. Once there is the fusion of thought and emotion, it creates a state of being.
Wow. I like your thought process, but I want to be practical.
Tell me.
How can I regulate my thought process when I am hungry? I need money.
True.
I don't have a job.
Very true.
The only thoughts I have are thoughts of I need a job, I need money. And I know that those thoughts that I have are not serving me. But how do I get myself out of the rut?
Beautiful, beautiful. So like I said, it starts from when you wake up. Now, most people don't realize that when they wake up in the morning, they have the brain of a child.
Okay.
What is the brain of a child? A brain that is very suggestible. But guess what? We all waste that time of the day because we default to what our body wants. We default to a program. So most people, for some people, is that they jump up out of bed because they always wake up late and they have to rush to the office. So they are caught up in mundane tasks in the most productive time for the brain. Or A typical person, 80% of people who have smartphones will always pick up their devices, By doing so, you have automatically just programmed yourself, defaulted to be a follower. Because what happens is that you're reacting. So somebody sends you a message, reply. You see somebody's post, you comment. So you are following, you are not in the driver's seat, right? So that time of the day is so critical. Now, I do respect and I understand that, oh yeah, somebody's hungry, they're struggling with life. But the question I always ask is, you've been defaulting to the same person that, do you understand? You've been doing it for God knows how many years. Has it worked? It hasn't worked.
In fact, Bankole, that takes me to the question my mentor always says to ask. At any time you want to take a decision or you come into that awareness of where you are at, ask yourself the question, what I'm doing now, how does it serve me? How does it serve me? If it serves me, carry on doing what you're doing. If it doesn't, which takes me to the next thing I'm going to ask you. We've spoken about being present. And we can see it all over where we live in Lagos. People are just walking. They don't even know when they walked onto the streets.
I'm telling you.
They hit you. They don't even know they've hit you because they have a lot of thoughts in their mind.
Yeah.
You are saying we need to be fully present in the now, and in his presence. For us to do that, going back to the state of being, how do we master presence? That's like mindfulness.
I love it. Yeah, beautiful. And it starts from practicing it. What we perfect is what we practice. See, practice makes perfect. So a lot of us have perfected defaulting to a program. And we don't realize it. Now, to perfect mindfulness, you need to practice it. And these are some of the things that have led to some of the studies and research which I have done, which I understand from a scientific perspective, or if you want to go spiritual, I can explain those things. But the truth is, it starts from the practice of mindfulness. And that mindfulness is actually meditation. But you know what? There are certain people who are listening to this, the minute they hear that word, they have associated something with it, right? And they fail to realize that it's something they practice every day anyway. You can feel a certain way about it, but when you are worrying, you are meditating.
Absolutely.
You are meditating on what you do not want. That's what happens. So I'm just saying that same practice, can you adopt it to what will serve you?
Wow.
Same practice. So mindfulness, paying attention to the present moment.
Okay, so you're going into the science of getting outstanding results now.
Yep.
And you are saying we need to practice mindfulness.
Yes.
To be able to perfect it.
To be able to perfect it. And being present, as in the moment. See, remember what I said? Where your attention goes, your energy goes.
Yeah.
If your attention is on the now, you are putting all your energy in and all you have is now. You are putting all your energy in the now. You are having more than enough energy to be able to deal with life, to be able to address situations. But the problem is a lot of us put our attention on our past experiences, on the past pain and things like that. Energy goes in that direction, and we don't have energy for the now. And all we really have is the now. Is the now that we have. You can't do anything about yesterday. You can't, right? Your tomorrow is dependent on the now, right? This is what is real now, right? And your ability to master being present. And that's why people start their days meditating, and that's because they are training their bodies to recognize who the captain of the ship is.
Oh, that is powerful. That is powerful. Training your body to recognize who the captain of the ship is.
Yes.
I'll take you back a bit. You spoke about human beings being like computers. or like a smartphone.
Yeah.
And we are programmed from our childhood with all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
For instance, when you mentioned the word meditation, my alarm bells went off. Because growing up, meditation is like hocus pocus. Once you hear that word, you are doing something else. How do I now begin to, like the smartphone, uninstall the apps I've been programmed with to be able to reinstall the apps that will serve me?
Beautiful. Beautiful question. Meditation. Because that's the process of becoming, first of all, what happens? So, for instance, if you're practicing mindfulness, what happens is that your mind on its own wanders.
Anyway.
And because you're practicing mindfulness, you notice. And the minute you notice, right, you are saying, no, I'm not going to think about that. I'm coming back to this moment, right, to be mindful of now. Now, what are you doing? You're bringing thoughts into captivity. You are
Bam.
taking
every thought
ownership
captive.
and saying no. Your body is saying no. We need to get up and go have a bath and get busy. You've been getting busy all your life. How has he served you?
Activity is not accomplishment.
Exactly, it's not productivity. But you are training that body to tell that body, you are not the driver of this vehicle. This body is secondary. Man is spirit. He has a soul, lives in a body.
Absolutely.
A lot of us are driven by what our bodies have been conditioned to do. And that's why we have fixed ways we do things, fixed way you brush your teeth, fixed way you have your bath, fixed way you wear your clothes. One leg will always go into your trousers before the other leg. The body has been conditioned. Now you are trying to uninstall those programs. And what happens is, because of that practice, what I find is I am now more the observer of my thoughts than a participant. Right? What I find is that most people are participating in their thought life. And because they are actively involved, lost and aloof in their thoughts, they don't even know what they are thinking. Right? So there's something called metacognition. And that is you seeing your thoughts, being the observer of your thoughts. But most people are participating and they don't see where it lands them. So I always like to use the example of, if you've ever witnessed an accident happen, right?
Yeah.
The two drivers come out of their cars and they start arguing. Oh, no, you're at fault. And the other person says, no, you are the one at fault. Now, because you are not a participant and you witnessed it, you could tell accurately who was at fault. And that's because you were the observer. Right. The problem is because people are so actively invested in their thought life and in the process of creating things, they are not even aware what it is that they're doing. And that's why, like I said, because I spend time meditating, when I come out of that exercise, I notice when the thought starts that will trigger a certain state of being. What I find with a lot of people is that they've landed in that state of being, right, in a toxic emotion, in a mood, and they can't quite explain why. They say, I just feel funny. I can't tell why. There was a thought process that led to that. But because you are so invested in the process, you are not even noticing what is causing it.
So it sounds to me like the key to this, to getting outstanding results, the science is in the state of being.
Yep. Yeah.
It reminds me of Wallace D. Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich, where he says it's about thinking in a certain way and doing things in a certain way. So we must be causative of our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. You talked about entering into observational thinking. Observe your thoughts. That means then we must interrupt our patterns at intervals to be able to observe what you're thinking and then reinstate the state you want to be in.
Very true. Very, very true. You know, if you remember the story of the prodigal son,
Right.
it says he came to himself.
Came to himself.
Right. He now became the observer. Right. He wasn't just the participants. He came and saw himself and saw, this is how I've been acting and this is how it has landed in this particular result. And people need those moments in life. Sometimes for certain people it's crisis that causes it, that causes that shaking, that shift where they now begin to notice the program, right? What the problem is that people default to a program, but when you become the observer, you begin to notice the process that lands you in that state that produces the outcome. The problem is people have a will to do stuff, but the program supersedes the will. So there's that contention.
Always.
You know, I will for more money. I will to break this habit. I will, you know, to be in charge of my emotions and not get angry. They have the will, but there is a program that kicks in. And I'm telling you, when people wake up the same way every day and not deliberate about determining the direction of their thoughts, they default to a program.
Absolutely, because again, it's like having uphill hopes, but you have downhill habits. And you're looking for great results, outstanding results.
Yeah.
So until you interrupt the pattern of thought, and take, like you said, take helm of your thoughts. In As a Man Thinketh. Take the helm of thought. Take captive every thought and direct it where you want to go. Right. So we've talked about being aware of our thoughts and our emotions and our actions. And you speak so much about meditation. What I pick is that meditation is the same as worry. Focused thinking. One is on positive, one is on negative. So we then need to direct our thoughts by meditating. Is the meditation thing a continuous day, throughout the day, consistently, or it has to be at a particular time of the day?
Well, I generally, for me personally, I love to meditate in the morning. And that's not necessarily the only routine or activity that you can carry out, because sometimes, you know, some people hear this and they're like, oh, Bankole, are you saying we should not pray? Prayer is actually
it is meditation.
Exactly. Right. But yes, obviously you can pray. But what I find is a lot of people are carrying baggage. You know, we should pray in faith, right? But you have issues and patterns and programs that don't agree with your requests, and you haven't broken those patterns, and it's a prayer that's out of faith. Or that's outside of faith and not in faith, right? And that is why it is important to practice awareness, right? And begin to visualize. So there are different kinds of meditation, and I just spoke about one, which is mindfulness. But another very important one for me is also visualization. You know, you being able to call those things that be not as though they were. You being able to experience what it is you want to experience in this material world, first in your thought life. And this is such a powerful exercise because our brains are very interesting. Our brains are repositories of our past experiences, right? It's a storehouse of your past, right? And if you don't default to a storehouse of your past, right, then you must be deliberate about creating a design of your future.
Absolutely.
So if you're not thinking of a design of your future, you are defaulting into the storehouse of the past. So, and that's how most people are. There is no deliberate attempt at creativity. And what we fail to realize is that the body will always go where the mind goes. Now, your mind has gone into yesterday's problems. Your body is going to settle there. Now, what happens is that you are training your body to be addicted to that state that you don't want. Because scientifically, it's been proven, the reward every time you experience an emotion, chemicals are released in your body.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody who is very fair, for instance, when they are angry, what do you notice? Their face turns red.
Red.
Now, that's because there's a chemical reaction. Now, when there's that chemical reaction, what happens is that, you know, you are teaching your cells what your head already knew. So your body is being conditioned to accept what it is you do not want. So my advice is to start your day that way. There are 2 times of the day that are very critical for me for exercises like this. The first one is first thing in the morning, because of the way your mind is, your consciousness, you gain it over time. So you are in that, in neuroscience, it's called theta brainwave, where, you're still trying to come up
in between consciousness and unconsciousness.
Exactly. Then you're very receptive, you're very suggestible to information. That's a great time to be able to start your day in a certain way and put your energy right in the now. So for me, that's critical. Another time could be just before you go to bed, right? The unconscious faculties of the mind, they don't sleep, they never go to sleep, right? So what raw material are you giving your mind to process while you're sleeping?
Oh.
Because you're not dead, you are alive. So your unconscious faculties, the faculties that are responsible for the breathing, the pumping of your heart, your blood pressure, all those things, they are still working, but they will only work based on the raw material that has been fed into the system. It's like a factory. You put in raw material, it determines, the kind of finished products. Most people are not deliberate about the raw material that they put into the factory. It is the environment that predetermines it for them. Right, so whatever it is happening in the environment, whatever experiences you've had in the course of the day, all those things, they enter the supply chain, for the entire processing. And at the end of the day, you have some kinds of dreams, or you wake up in the morning feeling a certain way. The problem was that you were not deliberate about inserting the right thing, right, to produce the outcomes that you wanted.
So like garbage in, garbage out. Awesome. So again, we're talking about the science of outstanding results.
Yeah.
I've heard meditation. I've heard visualization.
Yeah.
I love visualization because most of us try and set goals based on our past experiences.
Yep.
Especially businesses.
Yeah.
And we say based on what we did last year.
Yeah.
And so even us, personal, based on what's in my bank account, this is what I'm going to set for this year.
Yeah.
Instead of using what we've been gifted with by God, the intellectual faculties, of which imagination is just one of the 6.
Yep.
We don't use them. And imagination is what visualization is all about.
It is.
What do you imagine your future or your life to be?
Yeah.
So that you can draw your goals from that imagination.
Yeah.
That's the visualization.
Yeah.
I've heard you speak also of vocalization.
Yeah.
What is the place of vocalization with meditation, and why can't we stop at visualization?
Well, because your words also play a role in creating your outcomes, right? You don't just address negative thoughts with positive thoughts. You address them with positive words. And that's because your words have a way of interrupting thought processes and thought patterns. Right. What we don't realize a number of times is that when we speak, right, we don't just speak out, we speak in.
Say that again.
I said when we speak, we don't speak out, we speak in. Right. So your words don't, we think that because we are speaking, speaking out. No.
You're
speaking in, and I'll tell you why. If we were speaking out, then you should sound the same way, whenever you hear yourself on a tape or on a recording. When you listen to the recording, I'm sure this happened to you. You're like,
was that
is
me?
that really me? Is that how I sound? Now, the reason is because that's possibly the first time you are hearing yourself from your outer ear. Because if it was the same, if it was that the words were coming out of your mouth and going this way, then it should sound exactly the same way as when you hear yourself, on a recording. So when we speak, the words go into our inner ear, right? So, when we're just carelessly just saying stuff, we don't recognize that we're sending raw material for the brain to process.
Oh, wow.
So words create your world, right?
Yeah.
Words create a state, and you have to be deliberate. Because think about it, a lot of the things that people have piled up and accumulated that are responsible for conditions that they have today were things spoken to them. right? So you have to be deliberate about speaking what it is that you want, not as a future experience, not as something that will happen, but as your present reality. And it's just the way the brain works. The brain will accept it as real. Now, that real experience that the brain creates, right, is no different from an experience as though it really happened. And that's because you are trying to alter your state of being, knowing that the reward of an experience is emotions. The emotions are teaching your cells. You are learning the mistake, and this has been a missing link. People know stuff in their heads, but their bodies don't know it. Their bodies are too familiar with where they're coming from, with the old. So we need to begin to culture and condition our bodies, right, to know and become familiar with the results that we want, not as, the body won't get it if you put it as something that is a future experience. It wouldn't. It wouldn't. It would only get it as a present experience, and the minute you begin to embody, call those things that be not as though they were, and embrace it, wonders happen. So words, there's in quantum physics, sound plays a very, very significant role. I saw a recording recently of how some people use sound frequency. So some guys have done a research, something recent. They use sound frequency to alter the state of fire. So they use sound frequency to douse fire. It's a new invention. So sound at certain decibels, right, can actually reduce the oxygen in air and douse the fire.
Really?
Yes. That's how powerful words are, right? Words alter states, they influence factors in our environment, right? This in itself is a totally different...
I was just going to say, this is a whole...
Yeah, I think maybe some of the time we can do a podcast just really talking about the power of words and how. There's a how. There's a how because, it says the entrance of words bring light. Some people say words, but they don't enter. So there
They have to watch the other podcast on words.
Yeah.
But just so that we don't scramble the eggs of those who think we are going out of the spirit realm and we're supposed to be Christians, we are Christians. And that's why we started with the fact that it's your awareness of your spirituality and oneness with God. Even God created by the power of words. Yep. He spoke into being.
Yeah.
And he saw. He visualized as well. Therefore, we're still in line. We're in order.
Yeah.
So, back to our topic for today, the science of outstanding results. This is about being soulish. We've talked about being soulish.
Yeah.
You have to be in sync with your soul.
Yep.
And the way to do that is to be fully present in the present and in his presence.
Yeah.
Are there any closing words you want to talk about today?
Well, I think the final words that I'll just share is the fact that a lot of us need to be in alignment. And one of the goals...
Pause. Anytime I say final, you start a new thing. Alignment is the key for me.
Yeah.
And that's one word called praxis.
Yeah, it is.
Please go ahead.
Right, and what I find is a lot of people are out of alignment. They have certain desires, but the programs that they have are not in alignment with the desires that they have, right? And until there is alignment, you won't have outstanding results. What I find is people don't recognize that, we have two minds. It says that a double-minded man is unstable in his ways. Let him not think he will receive anything from God. So it is important to come to that place where we're integrated, where our intentions match our emotions, the desires that we have, right, are in alignment with how we feel. And that's what creates a state of being that can ensure that those results become, real to us. So it is important that we pay attention to the state of the heart. Is the way a man thinks in his heart, so is he. It's not just about intention, it's about having that experience as though it is your present reality, because when you do that, you are teaching yourself something. You're teaching your body that this is the new status quo. Now, once the body gets it and the body is in alignment with the mind, right, you are unstoppable. And if you do this, This is really the science of outstanding results. If you're consistent with ensuring that your experience matches your intention, I can bet that nothing will stop you from getting outstanding results.
So guys, I don't know about you, but I've had such an amazing time with the Bankole Williams. He said so many things today, talking about alignment, talking about meditation, talking about visualization and vocalization. For me, it's we need to be in sync with our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. Like the frequency on the radio, you want to be vibrating at that frequency that you really desire. Otherwise, you will experience static. So in order not to experience static, you want to be in that state of being where you are aware of your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. That state where you know that you are paying attention to what you are paying attention to and focusing on what you are focusing on. So guys, I wish that you will stay in alignment and be in praxis so that you can live the life that you desire. Thank you and God bless you.
I really, really appreciate you taking time out to have this conversation with me.
My pleasure.
It has been an amazing time. Guys, this is one edition of Soulish.
This is just one.
Where we deal with your BS, right? Like, subscribe, click on the bell, and be part of this community where we talk about the prosperity of your soul. Thank you.
Thank you.